Even if you don't play the game, Ark Survival Evolved needs no introduction. It is probably one of the most popular early access games on Steam. However, its overall mostly positive review average has kind of dive bombed a bit thanks to the reveal that the game would be getting a $20 or $19.99 to be exact expansion pack, the first ever paid DLC. Now, just FYI, the base game is still in early access, and that's probably what's causing some contention here, that they're releasing an expansion pack for a game that isn't even finished yet, which of course isn't free. It does cost money. It's 40% off right now at $13.79. That's pounds, of course, but normally it is £22.99. So while it's not the most expensive game ever, it's not exactly what I'd call cheap either. And one negative review reads, which is highly recommended, quote, Ark started off as a shining example of how to do early access, ended up a complete disaster after the developer went off an adventure of making free-to-play spin-offs like Ark Survival of the Fittest, console versions and paid expansions while still in early access. No wonder the game is so behind schedule. Now, just a brief reminder, the game did launch in early access in June of last year, so it has been in early access for quite some time, and the full release pushed back from summer this year to later in 2016. Now, another review says, quote, developers were doing so well, but they decided to spend their limited time and resources developing paid DLC instead of optimizing, finishing up and releasing the core game. And to be honest, you can't really argue with that statement. I also think it's a little bit rich that, you know, they're releasing a paid expansion for a game that isn't even finished yet, and if it is finished, well, then take it out of early access, but they seem content to stay there, and if, you know, if the game's not done, then that's fine, but releasing a massive expansion for basically $20 or £14.99 when the game's not finished yet is not exactly going to go down well for most people. Now, it is also not just the basis of the fact that there's DLC at all, but also the DLC content is causing some waves among the community as well. Now, the DLC is called Scorched Earth and adds a powerful dragon to the mix, a departure from the dinosaurs that populate the main game. Now, some are saying that this could create a power imbalance between those who stick with the core game and those who coughed up for the DLC. Now, whether or not that is true will kind of remain to be seen, but I can kind of see the argument to be made, you know, if the dragon is very powerful, and of course people who have that DLC can mix with people who don't, you can kind of see the power imbalance that could happen there. And even if that wasn't an issue, I still don't think there's anything wrong with the base argument that you shouldn't really be releasing paid DLC for a game that isn't finished yet. You should be using that money to improve the full game or release it already. And maybe it's almost done, you know, maybe, hey, the game's going to be out in 2 months and then, you know, it's fine, right? Well, yeah, that's cool, but then they should have just waited to announce the DLC. If they said, hey, the game's done, but we had some extra time on our hands, so here's some DLC as well if you want it, that probably wouldn't have gone down as badly. But I'd love to hear some thoughts from you guys on this. Personally, while this isn't like, oh my god, the world is ending, flames from the sky, dogs and cats, you know, mating with each other or anything like that, I can definitely see why people are irritated by this and why the review score has bombed on Steam. But I'd love to see some thoughts from you guys, so do let me know your opinions in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.